In the early hours of December 31st, 2000, a tragedy unfolded in the quiet Tokyo neighborhood of Setagaya. Four members of the Miyazawa family, Mikio, Yasuko, and their two young children, Nina and Rei, fell victim to a brutal and senseless crime that has left investigators and true crime enthusiasts alike perplexed for over 2 decades. This is the chilling story of the Setagaya family murders. The Miyazawa family appeared to lead a typical life. Mikio, aged 44, was employed at a British marketing firm, while 41-year-old Yasuko worked as a tutor. Their children, 8-year-old Nina and 6-year-old Rei, were thriving in their young lives, filled with laughter and love. As the years rolled by, the Miyazawas watched as their neighbors slowly left, selling their land to the city as Tokyo planned to expand the adjacent Soshigaya Park. By the dawn of the new millennium, only 4 houses remained on the street. One of these belonged to Yasuko's older sister An, who had just returned from 8 years in England with her son. Their close proximity to the Miyazawa home allowed Yasuko to tutor children without much distance to cover. However, this closeness began to gnaw at Mikio, who worried about future family conflicts, proposing soundproofing measures that Anne reluctantly agreed to. Both families had plans to move away from Kamisoshigaya. Tragically, the chance to relocate never came. The Miyazawa family's tranquil life would be shattered forever. On the night of December 30th, 2000, the family had settled in for what they thought would be a peaceful New Year's Eve. But unbeknownst to them, a cold-blooded killer lurked in the shadows. Police believe the murderer entered the Miyazawa's home after 11 p.m. through an open bathroom window on the 2nd floor. The first target was young Rei, whose bedroom was adjacent to the bathroom. Rei was found asleep and the attacker strangled him. Disturbingly, he is the only victim who suffered no stab wounds or bloodstains, marking his death as particularly unsettling. The police later discovered the most footprints in this room, suggesting a struggle or a hasty escape. The next victim appears to have been Mikio, who had been working on the 1st floor at the time of the attack. His body was found near the stairs, riddled with stab wounds primarily in the thighs and buttocks, along with additional wounds to his arms, chest, and face. The medical examiner determined his cause of death was significant blood loss due to stab wounds to the chest, with a fragment of a sashimi knife discovered lodged in his skull. Yasuko and Nina were the final victims, discovered in the attic, which was accessible via a foldable ladder. The assailant attacked them while they slept, inflicting multiple stab wounds, primarily to their faces and necks. It's theorized that in a desperate attempt to flee, Yasuko carried Nina down the stairs, both covered in blood from their injuries. In a horrifying turn of events, they were caught by the attacker, resulting in their deaths. Nina succumbed last, her injuries indicating a violent struggle, evidenced by the missing 1st and 3rd teeth, suggesting she had not only been stabbed, but also beaten. After the gruesome murders, the perpetrator lingered in the Miyazawa household. He rummaged through the kitchen, consuming ice cream directly from the containers without utensils, and pouring himself barley tea while ignoring more luxurious options like cola and beer. He also used a Band-Aid to attempt to patch a wound on his right hand, hinting at possible injuries sustained during the attack. The intruder then sifted through the family's personal belongings, pulling drawers from the storage area on the 1st floor and dumping their contents into the bathtub. Important items, including Yasuko's handbags, Mikio's wallet, and various documents, were discarded into the toilet, mingling with the perpetrator's bloodied towel and the remnants of his midnight snack. Crucially, evidence indicates the assailant remained in the house until at least 1 a.m., as he connected to the internet using Mikio's computer. During this 5-minute session, he created a new folder and visited a bookmarked theater website. However, the case took a significant turn in 2014, when police revealed that a second internet connection, previously thought to be made by the perpetrator, was likely a result of Yasuko's mother accidentally dropping the mouse while discovering the bodies. Yasuko's mother came to her daughter's house after 10 a.m. to check on them. One of Miyazawa's family's relatives called the police at 10:56 a.m. This means if it were really the murderer accessing the internet, he would have little to no time to escape. This revelation significantly widened the time frame in which the murderer could have escaped, suggesting he may have left between 1:30 a.m. and 10 a.m., raising the possibility that he could still be in the vicinity. One of the most perplexing aspects of this case is the criminal's point of entry. Initial reports suggest that he entered through a small bathroom window on the second floor, a theory that investigators later found troubling. In an interview with Excite magazine, one of the detectives voiced doubts about this theory. He pointed out that if the killer had indeed climbed through the small window, it was strange that his clothing and gear, including a jacket and fanny pack, showed no signs of damage or wear. There were no fabric snags, scratches, or scuffs, which would be expected after squeezing through such a tight space. Even more bizarre, there were no fibers or linen left behind on the window frame, which only deepened suspicions that something didn't add up. If the killer hadn't used the bathroom window, then the only other way in was the front door. But here's the catch: this door was found locked. For this scenario to make sense, the intruder would likely have been someone the family knew well, perhaps an acquaintance or a friend whom they trusted enough to let in late at night. Supporters of this theory have noted another eerie detail: the bloody footprints left behind. These footprints began in the middle of the staircase, going only upward, which would be odd for an intruder. If the killer were indeed someone invited in, they would have likely removed their shoes at the entrance as a cultural custom. The blood could have later made the stairs dangerously slippery, potentially leading them to put their shoes back on, adding another unsettling layer to the crime scene. However, even if he didn't use the window to enter, it seems likely he interacted with it in some way. When police arrived, they found the bathroom window open, with the mosquito screen removed and lying outside. Below the window were footprints that matched the perpetrator's shoe size, as well as broken tree branches near the park fence, suggesting he may have climbed up this way. These clues have left investigators questioning the exact sequence of events on that night, as each potential scenario seems both plausible and puzzling. From the beginning, the unprecedented nature of this murder led to an extensive investigation involving approximately 280,000 police officers, yet with little success. Initially, hopes were high as the perpetrator left behind fingerprints, footprints, and a blood-stained towel indicating he had type A blood. However, after over 5 million fingerprints were checked, ranging from neighbors to hospital patients, and 1.3 million DNA tests, none matched. In 2005, forensic researchers proposed an intriguing theory. The perpetrator likely had Southern European ancestry from his mother's side, possibly indicating that a family member had roots in a country near the Adriatic Sea. Conversely, they speculated that his father could be East Asian, leading to possibilities of Japanese, Korean, or Chinese descent. In a groundbreaking move, Japanese police reached out to South Korea for assistance in identifying the suspect, marking the first such request from Japan. However, the South Korean government declined to cooperate, leaving many questions unanswered. Based on the physical demands of the crime, climbing the fence and accessing the second-floor window, police estimated the assailant to be between 15 and 35 years old and approximately 170 centimeters tall. Hair strands found in the fanny pack indicated dark brown or black, short hair. Some investigators speculated the perpetrator may have had military training, given the calculated and precise nature of his movements, which were described as small steps taken with his back against the wall, possibly to avoid slipping on the blood-soaked stairs. The killer left behind several key pieces of evidence, the most notable being his fanny pack, which contained traces of sand believed to originate from the southwestern United States. This finding sparked considerable interest in international circles, though it remained unreported on the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department's official site. The fanny pack, a well-used item, was relatively small, capable of holding an A5 notebook, and sold in Japan between September 1995 and January 1999 for under $30. In addition to traces of red fluorescent agents, police discovered dark hair strands inside the pack. One item that's proved exceptionally challenging to trace is the muffler. There's little information on who produced it or even where it was sold. Based on what the police could gather, the scarf was likely given away as a freebie at places like game centers, arcades, or uniform shops. Like the bag, it was also noticeably well worn, hinting at regular use. While Western audiences zeroed in on the bag as the key to understanding the case, in Japan, attention turned to the shoes. This British brand Slazenger model was particularly unique. It was produced in South Korea and sold in both South Korea and Japan. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Only South Korea offered the shoes in the size that matched the perpetrator's footprints. This made the shoes the second item with ties to South Korea, adding an unexpected international angle to the investigation. Other significant items included a thin, nondescript sweatshirt, of which only 10 were sold in a now-closed store in Tokyo, further narrowing the potential pool of suspects. The rest of the outfit was composed of a gray knitted bucket hat, a black padded jacket, a 2000 release from Uniqlo, and gloves from the Edwin brand, sold between 1998 and 2000, were also recovered. Some clothing bore the scent of Dracar Noir, a French perfume that had been available in Japan since 1982. Perhaps the most intriguing of all were 2 black handkerchiefs manufactured by Muji, one of which had a 3-centimeter cut, possibly used to secure the handle of the murder weapon, aligning with techniques observed among workers in fish factories. Despite the wealth of evidence, the police struggled to find witnesses. Only 2 potential sightings were reported. One from a woman who claimed to have seen a man fleeing the Miyazawa house around 11:30 p.m. However, police dismissed her testimony due to a lack of blood evidence at the scene. The second sighting occurred the day after the murder at Tobuniko Station, where a man with a severe arm wound received treatment. This lead was also deemed unhelpful, as the nature of the injury did not align with the suspect's description. The investigation pointed towards a potential sighting of the perpetrator near Kichioji Station's northern exit. He was spotted by a supermarket camera. This is where the murder weapon was purchased. The police have narrowed down 3 potential motives for the crime: money, personal grudge, or an unknown factor that's still eluding authorities. First, the money theory, which has its share of skeptics. The intruder took only around 150,000 yen, roughly $1,500, hardly a sum most would kill an entire family over. Yet cases like this do happen. In 2009, a Chinese exchange student in Kanei City, near Nagoya, killed 2 people and injured a third during a robbery gone wrong. All he took was a cheap watch and about $2,000, money he intended to use for a shoplifting fine. Despite seeming improbable, it shows that killings over small amounts aren't unheard of. However, this theory has a few holes. For someone who didn't seem to be in a hurry, the killer left behind 190,000 yen and some foreign currency worth 5,000 yen. And then there's the brutality of the attack. If the motive was random theft, why would he go out of his way to seek out Yasuko and Nina, who were asleep in the attic, and inflict such violent attacks? This leads us to the second theory: a grudge. In the grudge scenario, the viciousness of the murder speaks volumes. Unlike Rei, who was strangled, Yasuko and Nina faced repeated stabs, especially to the face. Such violence could point to a personal resentment, perhaps even a specific hatred toward women. Investigators also found that 5 of the 10 items left behind were from stores near Ogikubo Station, suggesting the intruder might have lived on the west side of Tokyo, possibly commuting on the JR Chuo line or Keio line, close to Soshigaya Park. Yet not everyone is convinced. Some investigators argue that the chaotic aftermath, the destroyed items and discarded belongings, could have been part of an elaborate ruse to mislead the police. If that's true, the grudge theory could be nothing more than a red herring. All this leaves room for an unsettling possibility: a motive entirely unknown to authorities, one that may explain the bizarre and chilling details left behind. Online forums and international crime sites have also proposed some unexpected theories. One of the more popular ideas centers around the involvement of local skaters. The Miyazawa family's home was situated right next to Soshigaya Park, an area where skaters frequently gathered. The noise and disruption may have led to conflicts with Mikio Miyazawa. In fact, the Japanese police's very first theory focused on a skater as the potential suspect. There are numerous online testimonies that claim Mikio had several arguments with skaters, who were known to use benches in Choo-Choo Train Park as makeshift ramps. As mentioned earlier, the killer might have lived somewhere near Ogikubo, a location close enough to Soshigaya Park for frequent interactions with the Miyazawa family. However, There are some weaknesses in this theory. Slazenger shoes, for instance, would be an unusual choice for skateboarding, raising questions about whether a skater was truly involved. And as the first suspects, it's likely the police checked skaters' fingerprints early in the investigation. In Japan, though, the theory that has gained the most traction links the killer to South Korea. Due to the items left behind, such as the shoes only available in South Korea, some suspect the intruder was a Korean national. Adding to this, journalist Ichihashi Fumiya speculated that Mikio Miyazawa may have been targeted by the Korean Unification Church. In this sensational tale, the church allegedly hired an assassin after the Miyazawas refused to sell their land. However, it's worth noting that this theory remains speculative and lacks concrete evidence. Other theories lean toward the possibility of the murderer being mentally ill or the crime stemming from a robbery gone terribly wrong. With so many variables and conflicting evidence, the real motive and identity of the killer remain shrouded in mystery. As with many cold cases, when all leads have dried up and the trail has gone cold, there remains one small flicker of hope: science. At a research institute in Shizuoka, scientists are currently working on developing a more detailed profile of the killer based on DNA left behind at the crime scene. One of the scientists involved believes they may soon be able to reveal details about the perpetrator's physical traits, potentially even identifying any health conditions, skin tone, and specific facial features. Could this new technology bring us closer to identifying the culprit once and for all? Police, however, remain skeptical. Unlike in the United States, where ancestry and genetic research are widely used, Japan's society is more homogeneous, and there is less interest in tracing family histories in cold case investigations. Yet with advances in forensic science, there's a chance this case could have an unexpected breakthrough. Just as DNA led to the arrest of the Golden State Killer in the United States, this progress could be the first step toward uncovering the truth behind the Miyazawa family murders. Only time will tell if these efforts will finally provide the answers that have eluded detectives and haunted the public for over 2 decades. For now, the case remains unsolved.